Hi everyone. This is the PowerPoint for the notes for viruses. This is the beginning of Unit 9, which are microbes. So the tiny things in life refer to bacteria and viruses. Bacteria makes up a lot of the world and a lot of you, actually, and viruses are things that they're not great, but they're here and we kind of have to deal with them. So viruses, usually you want them dead or dead because they're not very nice um, particles. So first, we're going to talk about what a virus is actually. Now, a virus is different from most things in biology since biology is the study of life, but viruses are non-living particles. They are not themselves alive. They do contain some genetic material, which can be either DNA or RNA, and that is contained inside of a protein capsid. So if you look right here, this shape here, and then this shape right here, that would be, it's similar to what a cell membrane would be, kind of, or a cell wall for a cell, but in a virus, it's called a capsid. Okay, like a cap that you wear on your head. It's a capsid made out of proteins. All right, so is a virus alive? No, it is not. There are some things that we use to determine if something is alive, and one of them, can it perform life functions, and a virus cannot. They don't need energy. They cannot reproduce by themselves. They don't have any of the parts that cells have, apart from some genetic material, which can be either DNA or RNA. Okay, they entirely depend on a host cell to replicate. So that means that, like right here, here we have this party, and these women are throwing a nice party. They're hosts. They're hosting a party, and they're scrapbooking, and they have cool hats and whatever. And here you have Mr. Virus. He comes in, and he's going to ruin the whole entire thing. Okay, he's going to come in, he's going to be loud and noisy and break things and tear up the house, but he can't do that if there's not a party going on. Like if he's just by himself in his house, like going, ooh, like no one cares, right? But when he gets into the host's party, then that's when things start to go very badly. Okay, so it's very important, and I'm going to put some stars by this because it's super important that you know how viruses are different from cells. Okay, so right here we have a eukaryotic cell because it has a nucleus, right? Nucleus, you do. Right here, this is like an E. coli. This is a bacteria. Okay, so this is a prokaryotic cell. And see how this one's real big? This cell's super big. This cell, not as big. And then here we have a tiny little bacteriophage. Now this bacteriophage would infect this bacteria cell right here. But let's say you were making out with your boyfriend and he had a cold, and now you have a cold too. Here's the cold virus right here. It's going to go into your nose and respiratory system, and it's going to make you feel terrible, okay? But look how small this is compared to the big eukaryotic cell right here, okay? They're crazy small. The other thing about viruses is they have no organelles. They don't have ribosomes, cytoplasm, mitochondria, cell walls, cell membranes, Golgi apparatus, flagellum. They have none of those things, okay? All they have is like a box, the protein capsid, and inside the box there's some DNA. And then they have like little spikes sticking out to attach to a cell, but that's it. That's all they have. Okay? They're also different from cells because they cannot perform any life functions at all. They have to have a host cell to do everything. The other thing that you need to remember, that's why this is in red, because it's important, that they do have one thing in common. And the only thing that they have in common is that viruses contain genetic material, okay? It can be DNA or RNA. Some viruses, like the HIV virus, is called a retrovirus because it only has RNA. Um, but that's literally the only thing they have in common. Everything else is like completely different. Okay. So here's some pictures. Now let's label the parts. So we have a capsid, some DNA. This has a tail fiber, pin, breastplate. Yeah, I numbered those backwards. And then the sheath. They have 6 things. Let's label this eukaryotic cell. Oh, lysosome, some weird vesicle, Golgi apparatus, more ribosomes, smoothie R, cytoplasm. Why do I keep writing 5 and 6 over again? Sorry. Cell membrane, mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, nucleolus, nucleus, centrioles, microtubules. Oh my gosh, I'm getting so tired. All right, so there's a minimum of 16 things in this one cell. This virus only has 6. 6 is less than 16, okay? There's nothing to this. These are just parts. These little legs, they attach to the cell. This is like a tube that the DNA gets shot down through into the cell. But there's really nothing much to a virus, okay? So we need to talk about how viruses actually reproduce, and they take over the cell's construction system, because remember, viruses don't have one. It's literally some DNA in a box, okay? And they trick the cell into making virus parts instead of cell parts, and this is what we call the lytic cycle or the lysogenic cycle, okay? So here's my awesome pictures. So we'll start at this factory. And this factory makes shoes because it's a shoe factory. Okay, so they're making cool kicks. Yay, they light up and they're neon. And then something happens and they get invaded. And Darth Vader comes in and he says, "Do my bidding, shoe factory. You will now make more of me." And the shoe factory workers are kind of stupid because they're robots and they just do what the programming tells them. So Darth Vader programs the robots to make more Darth Vaders. And so now, instead of making shoes, no more shoes, they're making Darth Vaders. And then the factory gets the boxes full of Darth Vaders and sends them out. And then Darth Vader goes into this factory and says, "Ha ha ha, make more of me." And they go into this factory and they say, "Ha ha ha, make more of me." And so eventually, Darth Vader takes over all of the factories, and every factory in the world now is only making Darth Vader. That's what viruses do. They invade the cell, they take over the cell's factory, and they say, "Make more of me." And the cell's really stupid, so it's like, "Okay, sure." And then they make more viruses, and then the viruses go to other cells, and they're like, "Make more of me." And those stupid cells are like, "Okay, and we'll do that." And then you end up dying from Ebola. Like, "Oh no, I'm dying." I'm sad because I'm dead. Okay. They're just not very nice. So you end up with a bunch of Darth Vaders and 0 shoes, which is really bad for your cells because they need things like ATP and ribosomes and proteins, and they have to make stuff, and they got tricked into only making Darth Vaders. All right, so on your note sheet, there's a place for you to write the definition of lice, and you say that like lice. Okay. To lyse means to rupture, which means breaking, of the cell wall or the cell membrane. Basically, the cell explodes like a water balloon. Okay, so we have this cell, and at one point it was intact, and it gets so full of little viruses that it just explodes and releases the viruses everywhere so they can go off and find new cells to make them explode with the viruses as well. That's why viruses make you feel sick, because they're literally killing your cells by causing them to explode and releasing more viruses. Okay, so how do viruses get spread? Okay, they are only spread through contact. If you never touch a virus or you never get a virus inside of you, it can't hurt you. You could sit a virus on a table and it would just sit there and never do anything. But the second it gets inside of a host, that's when it starts to be like, must find factory to make more of me. Okay, so there's different kinds of contact. You can do skin to skin contact, like shaking hands, or patting someone on the face, or punching them in the nose. You can have contact with fluids, like if someone sneezes, this is gross, don't do this. Or if they sneeze on their hands and then touch a doorknob, and then you touch the doorknob and you get that, and then you touch your face, or like you eat French fries, it's not good. Infected insects, okay? This is common for the Zika virus. It's spread by mosquitoes. Bug spray, always good. West Nile, that's another one people are always worried about with mosquitoes. Breathing them in. So viruses can live in little water droplets, like water vapor that's in the air, and then you breathe them in. And then it gets in your lungs and your respiratory tract, and then in like 3 to 7 days you start feeling really crappy. It's because you breathed all that stuff in. And everyone's favorite, sexual contact. Okay, you need to be very, very careful when you are older and deciding who to have sex with, because viruses, some of them never go away. Okay, it's a very intimate setting when you're like trading fluids and stuffs everywhere, and then if they have a virus, that virus is going to infect you, and sometimes it's not one that you can ever get rid of, and you have it forever. Okay, so let's say you do get a virus. Now sometimes you can get rid of them. These right here are things called antibodies, and antibodies are your body's way of keeping viruses from being able to attach to a cell. So they attach to a receptor. So let's say we have this virus right here, and it has these little receptors. Okay, well, this antibody, like right here, is going to find this virus, and it's going to attach itself to the little receptors here. And it's going to go, no, you cannot come in. We will kill you. We will keep you from attaching. And then the virus is like, oh, crap. I got this stuff all stuck over me. Now the virus can't do anything. It cannot hurt you because your body has protected you by keeping it from attaching to your cell. Okay? But not all viruses can be blocked by antibodies. Okay? So like HIV or herpes, for example, it's very difficult for your body to identify them and attach to them and then keep them from making you sick. Okay? So here we have our science hack. Everyone loves a good hack, right? Body hack, science hack. So you can protect yourself from some viruses like the chicken pox or HPV, by injecting a dead or broken version of that virus into your body. So that tricks your immune system into making antibodies without you ever having to get sick. So that way, if the virus does enter your body, you already have those antibodies already ready made, and they're like, oh, we see the chickenpox virus, go get it. And they go get it, and then you never get sick. Okay, that's what vaccines are for. I want everybody to know that vaccines are very safe. Please, please, please do not listen to anyone that tells you vaccines are not safe, okay? They are very safe. They're very necessary. When you grow up and have kids, you need to make sure that your kids get vaccinated, because there's diseases that don't exist anymore, but that could possibly come back and start wreaking havoc and killing lots of people if you don't get your kids vaccinated, okay? It's very important. All right. So now we're going to talk about specifically the lytic versus the lysogenic cycle. There's two different ones. There are some diseases that are lytic cycle only. Okay, so lytic cycle only means they make you sick right away. Now, okay, things like the cold, like a cold, which is a rhinovirus, or the flu, influenza, measles, Ebola, dengue fever, all of those things are lytic cycle. They come into your body, they start making you feel really, really sick, and your choice is either you get better or you die. That's it. With Ebola, you either make antibodies and it fights it, or you're just naturally immune to the Ebola virus and you're fine. Or you die from bleeding out of your eyes and every hole in your body. It's super gross. Okay? Now, there are diseases that start in the lysogenic cycle and they switch to the lytic cycle. So, lysogenic is when the virus puts DNA in your cell and then your cell replicates the virus DNA. And then all of your cells, your brand new cells that your body is making for you because you cut your hand or you're growing, all of those cells now also have the virus DNA. And the virus DNA is just like waiting for the moment where it's like, yes, now we're going to make you sick. Ha ha ha. And so HIV causes AIDS. Herpes causes genital sores or warts. Chickenpox. Now, chickenpox starts out as lysogenic, but once your body kills it off, it can store that virus in your nervous system. And then when you're an old person, you might get shingles. And then hepatitis affects your liver. They don't always make you sick right away. Like when you get herpes, you can have herpes for a really long time and give it to lots of people and never know that you have it because it didn't make you sick right away. Okay? These are viruses that you have for the rest of your life. Herpes is not going to kill you, but it's going to make your life very unpleasant every so often. Hepatitis will kill you. HIV will kill you. Shingles can kill you when you're old, and chickenpox can actually kill you if you get it as an adult. As a kid, it doesn't hurt you very much, but as an adult, it can be very dangerous. All right, so we're going to talk about the lytic cycle. This is the fun one where you're getting sick. Okay, so this is an example of the cold of a cold virus. This is an example of the flu virus, and this is what the Ebola virus looks like. These are all lytic cycle only viruses, okay? So first things first, they attach to your cell. Then they inject their DNA into the cell. Then your cell uses that DNA information and the code to make virus parts or replicate the virus parts. Then your cell also uses those instructions to assemble the viruses, and then it assembles so many of them that your cell can't hold them, and the cell lyses or releases the viruses, and then they go on to find new cells, and they start everything over and over again, okay? It would be at this point right here, if there was an antibody where it would stick here and this virus wouldn't be able to get in. But since we don't have an antibody, then that does not happen. Okay? All right, and last we have the lysogenic cycle, and this one is the sneaky. It's sneaky, and you don't always know that you're sick at first because what it does is it will attach, okay? And then you see this DNA right here is red. This red DNA gets mixed into the cell's regular DNA. And so then we have mitosis, remember? Where you replicate the DNA and then the cell divides. And when it replicates that DNA, This is actually 1 and 2. This is 3, integration. Once it replicates the DNA, then the cell divides. And every cell now has this little tiny bit of virus. And then it divides again. And then we have this little bitty bit of virus. Oh, right here. Oh, no. And then this one divides and divides and divides. And shoot. Now all of your cells have viral DNA stuck inside of them. This right here is a picture of the HIV virus. And this is my favorite, herpes. It's so pretty. All right, so these are examples of lysogenic viruses, okay? So viruses that start in the lysogenic cycle can switch to the lytic cycle, okay? So like I said, you can have herpes for a long time and never get an outbreak. And then one day you have sores all over your genitals and you're like, oh no, what did I do? And then you have to call all your sexual partners and be like, hey, I have herpes, go to the doctor, thanks. And it's super embarrassing and terrible for you. So please, again, be very careful when you decide to have sex with someone that you're being safe. Don't get herpes or HIV. They're both bad. These are frowny face viruses. Okay? Okay. So make sure that you have all of these written down in your notes. There are some worksheets for you to do involving comparing the virus to a cell and probably something about herpes. So tape this into your notebook and then get started on the worksheets for viruses.